Travis Wayne Goodsell. So, Joseph Smith translation, Revelation chapter 12, verse 1 adds, "Sign in the heaven in the likeness of things on the earth." This is the learning of the Jews regarding astronomy. That's a science. Too many people want to turn astrology or astrotheology into science, similar to psychology trying to claim to be a science. No, astronomy. And they use astronomy to write their scriptures, and their scriptures are prophecies of their Christ in the latter days. And so that's why it says, sign in the heavens, which is a conjunction of a group of celestial bodies within a constellation. And thus the prophecy part in the likeness of things on the earth. And so for October conference this year, the 30th of September, 1st of October, the church announced that Nelson had fallen and he can't get up. And it was 3 weeks earlier on 9/11. Russell Marion, check the baby name meaning, fell. And so on his birthday, stars fell from heaven on Nelson's birthday. It was in the Perseid meteor shower, or Perseid constellation, and the Perseid meteor showers right there in the forehead of Medusa. That was a fun video yesterday. And so, sign in the heavens, event on earth. Birthday, stars in the heavens, sign in the heavens. And the event on earth. He fell. Simple example. God is true. He knew it billions of years ago. And religions do make that claim. And so on Monson's death night, there was likewise a sign in the heavens. It was Revelation chapter 12, verse 4. But also, when a president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints dies, the president of the Quorum of the 12 automatically becomes the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They got to wait for the 3 days for a dead body, and then they got to wait for the funeral, and then after the funeral, the whole remaining apostles gather in conclave and lay their hands upon the head of the president of the church, or the president of the Quorum of the 12, and he becomes the president of the church. This is the process that has always been and put into the Articles of Incorporation by Heber J. Grant for 1923. And that night, the planet Mars was at the top of the scales of judgment, which means Mars is now the judge. That was the sign in the heavens. And so, events on earth, Nelson becomes the new president of the church with Monson's death. Sign in the heaven, events on earth. Simple, easy breezy cover girl. Maybe it was Maybelline. If any of you saw SNL over the weekend. The weekend update. And so, we got another one coming. I still got to go over conference, don't I? I didn't cover that one. Because there was one on conference also. For conference, as Nelson is now bedridden, can't go into work. He has to stay home and recuperate. And so, what automatically happens? The president of the Quorum of the 12 takes over the duties and responsibilities. And that is Dallin Harris Oaks. Baby name meaning. And so, what was the sign in the heavens for the event on earth? Mars was exiting the womb of Virgo. Ta-da! Nelson is being aborted and giving birth to Oaks. Okay? So, when does Oaks officially become the judge of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as the president? Well, November 3rd. The sign in the heavens have Mars, who is now Oaks. That transition has now been made. Is at the top of the scales of judgment again. Sign in the heavens. And so, that is the expected, prophesied event on earth. Remember? Easy breezy cover girl, or maybe it's Maybelline. Okay, so just something to keep an eye on. We'll have to see. It's not up to me. I just know what I see and establish patterns and develop facts and anomalies. I run through a theory test. And so this is all this is a theory test. And then we know the date of when it's expected to occur. Just like astronomers. Astronomers know when a solar eclipse is coming. So we were notified in advance that there would be a solar eclipse that would pass over Judah, on 14 October 2023 at 10:24 to 10:35 a.m. As I went out and sat at the track station and watched it in the sky with my proper eyewear, because I don't want to turn to stone and go blind. And so, yeah, we're in the latter days. And so I've been telling you all these years to look out for these signs in the heavens. And Mormons come out and say the president of the church hasn't told us this, Travis. Signs in the heavens are evil. We shouldn't be looking for a sign, even though the Doctrine and Covenants passage says once you're baptized, you're now supposed to look for the signs in the heavens of your Christ's coming. Oops. How do we reconcile it? It's a contradiction of scriptures. It's the different word of sign, the different meaning. That's what. And so, we're done with that. We might be able to put it in the video if I remember. So, I can write it down. I would remember. Put 11.3 sign in. Okay. There we go. Are you happy? Bob Menendez has been in the news lately. because as a senator, he's been a naughty boy. He has registered not registered as a foreign agent, doing business with Egypt, selling them tank ammunition, apparently, and receiving gold bullions, gold bricks, for compensation among cash. And the punishment is 5 years in prison for each act and $10,000 fine. So each count is 5 years in prison, $10,000 fine. And what's interesting is that foreign agents must be registered. So he's an unregistered foreign agent. There are exemptions, and those exemptions include religion. Religions can go around the world and preach their message to other nations without reprisal from the United States of America, so that they have freedom of religion. It is not considered an act of terrorism. And likewise, they can build churches or other places of worship, whether they're called synagogues or shrines or mosques, and the United States won't touch you. It's already established in the law. There's no need to panic and demand further protections as a religion. But people are not allowed to violate the laws of the land. They are not exempt from obeying, honoring, and sustaining the land. So Bob Menendez, despite being a senator, is not exempt from obeying the laws of the land and the Constitution. The Article 6 of the Constitution is about what the oath that each member of Congress and each government official, an agent of the government, must take, and that's to the Constitution as the supreme law of the land. And so Bob Menendez cannot claim exemption because he's a senator. Will not work. Joseph Smith likewise believed that despite being a religion, as a religion, he is not exempt from obeying, honoring, and sustaining the law. So the Wentworth Letter with Article of Faith number 12. We believe in being subject to kings, presidents, rulers, and magistrates, and obeying, honoring, and sustaining the law. The law of the United States is the United States Constitution, and all must obey. All states must conform and comply to the United States Constitution. They cannot go rogue and claim exemption as a state in the Union. Texas likes to do that. Texas has had lots of problems in the past. And so has Utah. And so, when you hear the news stories of the state of Utah doing business with a foreign government, they are acting as agents of a foreign government. And they're not registered because they're in violation of the United States Constitution, which only Congress is allowed to do business with other nations. Businesses can do business with other nations as long as it's for business. That's also in the foreign registry rules and regulations, as well as artists and entertainers. They can go around, entertain the world as long as it's only dealing with their job as an entertainer, only dealing with their job as a corporation. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is both a corporation and a religion. And yet they are deceiving the United States of America. They're deceiving their exemption clause for paying taxes as a religion by acting as a business, because acting as a business means they have to pay taxes, but they're claiming to be a religion so they don't have to pay taxes. You can't do both, and because of that, as a religion, they are committing a crime, frauding the United States government, and acting, therefore, as an agent of foreign governments, using religion as their claim for exemption. And so when the SEC fined the church $5 million earlier this year, it was only because the whistleblower for Ensign Peak Advisors only works for Ensign Peak Advisors. And so the accusation was that Ensign Peak Advisors was violating the SEC rules and regulations. And the SEC investigated and found, yes, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, through only Ensign Peak Advisors, was violating the SEC rules and regulations and were fined the required $5 million, even though it's over $100 billion in Ensign Peak Advisors. So in 1 minute later, after the church paid the $5 million fine, they made it back in interest from Ensign Peak Advisors. And it seems wrong. It should be a percentage, but that's the rules and regulations of the SEC. And so what is not discussed is that the SEC, because they didn't get a whistleblower from every single source of income, which is well over 3 to 5 dozen different sources of income that the church has. You know, the Christmas jukeboxes, vending machines that they do every year, that's a source of income. The Book of Mormon Fund, that's a source of income. Fast offerings, source of income. Temple building, source of income, etc., etc., etc. LDS philanthropies, LDS charities, etc., etc., etc. Each of these are a source of income. And as a source of income, Nelson came out in response to the whistleblower in December 2019 and said, we do this same pattern with every single source of income. What is that sort pattern? They receive donations, except for tithing, which is not a donation. They receive money. They use a small portion of it for its supposed intended purpose. They then funnel 10% into an LLC corporation like Ensign Peak Advisors for tithing, and it's a different one for each and every single source of income. And then they take the rest of it and launder it into an offshore bank account. Thank you, Australian press, for exposing that. And so the offshore bank account gains interest, and the LLC company takes the money and they do investments as well as gain interest, as the whistleblower explained with Ensign Peak Advisors. And so each and every single source of income invests into an LLC company, and that LLC company invests in the stock market. And Nelson said we do the exact same pattern with everything. And so the SEC needs to go back and investigate the full church, and for each count of violating the SEC rules and regulations, the church needs to be fined $5 million. And so 5 dozen, 60 times 5 million, 300 million. The church is supposed to be fined. That's just a rough estimate. It's unclear. The church doesn't want people to know how many sources of income they have. They're hiding and covering up the truth. And so we now have 3. They're an unregistered foreign agent. They're violating the SEC. They're violating the IRS. That's what's called a criminal pattern of practice. And they have more that they're violating to establish the fact that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a criminal organization. Because there's the respect for marriage exemption, there's the freedom of speech exemption, the freedom of religion exemption, the freedom of the press exemption, the freedom to petition the government for a redress of grievances exemption, the freedom to peaceably assemble exemption, violating the 14th Amendment, Section 1. The church was involved in the overthrow of the government, or the overthrow of Roe v. Wade, by compromising the Supreme Court justices. The 14th Amendment, Section 1, guarantees all women rights to their own body. No one else but them, because they are citizens. The fetus is not born yet. The fetus has no rights. If the mother wishes to abort the baby, she is legally and lawfully allowed to abort the baby. And yet we see that Utah, among other states, have always been fighting against this, to take away women's rights. The Equal Rights Amendment was rejected because of Utah. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints forced the government leaders to stop it, not let it get passed as an amendment in the Constitution. And so missionary work, it's a pyramid scheme, because Mormons pay for the kit to go out on a mission, and in foreign governments as an unregistered agent, foreign agent, and recruit. And those recruits must pay the church. The very definition of a pyramid scheme. And so RICO is involved with tithing. So the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, in everything they do, is a criminal act. So when Nelson gets up at the pulpit of conference in his first solemn assembly conference and talks about the list of temples that are in the works, and he says, and a major city yet to be determined in Russia, he just confessed to plotting, having paid for the war in Ukraine. And do you understand how serious of a charge that is? Funding war. And for the hacks by Cozy Bear. Do they have merchandise for their hackers? Is there a Cozy Bear hacker bear? Just an idea. I know Russia is listening. And overthrowing elections with the 2016 election. So the church has been in bed with Russia for a long time, working on this deal. And so who's the one responsible? Who in the apostles of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints knows about the law. We all know. Oakes, former prosecutor and former Supreme Court Justice of Utah. And so when Tim Ballard comes out, confused as to why M. Russell Ballard lied. I don't know him. I've never met him. I take pictures with lots of people. He has your same name. Tim Ballard was exposing the collapse of the authority of the church. We already have Irene. His wife dies. He's 90. Holland, he's out of the picture. Nelson fell. And now we have M. Russell Ballard, who gets at the pulpit of conference, says he can't see. He's going blind. Must be looking at porn. As Holland got porn, or got COVID from looking at porn. And so, yeah, the church is getting exposed as a potential oncoming multiple deaths of leadership here. A transition of power is about to take place among the children of men. And so, what happens next? Well, Mormons come out and are exposed. You see, when you do any kind of sexual arousal, not just sex, you have to go talk to your bishop and get graphic in detail, explaining to him precisely what it is you did, so that he can then discipline you appropriately and confiscate any of the porn, of which he claims he's throwing away. Nonetheless, the women who are suing him are claiming that they consented to go to a strip club and consented to give him lap dances. That's their sexual assault claim. Sexual assault in the law is not rape. But in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, of which they were all Mormons, they are guilty of sexual sin and must needs report to their bishops. And as such, the church now has leverage over those women to use as weapons against Tim Ballard, who is exposing, thanks to the loose lips of M. Russell Ballard, to turn it on to Tim Ballard and discredit him. This is what criminal organizations do. It's often with sex stuff. And so then we find out that Sean Reyes, who's the prosecuting attorney in the state of Utah, the head prosecutor, is compromised. He went on raids with Tim Ballard. And so he could not speak on the matter. And he was humiliated in the press conference when he was trying to come out to protect the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints by saying that TikTok is addictive to children. Not adults, to children, and therefore needs to be banned. He was trying to make it all about that to distract from Tim Ballard, but the press wouldn't let it. But there's more compromising of Sean Reyes, because earlier Sean Reyes was asked by the church to promote laws or prosecute various websites that the church deemed to be immoral, porn. And the church was trying to get psychologists also to promote porn as evil, as Natasha Helfer was an obstacle to that, and so the church excommunicated and fired her because she's not in line with the church. She, for some reason, as a psychologist, was promoting medical science and not conforming and complying to the will of the church. Because as a fraud, psychology can be manipulated. I have witnessed over the years, over the decades, as a little kid, my peers would take the cues from psychology and turn it into bullying, which it's already bullying by psychologists, but that bullies pick up on this. And so a person used to be called mentally retarded, then mentally disabled, and then diseased, and then mentally ill, and then having a behavioral problem, and now it's a mental health issue. They just keep changing the wording, but mental health goes all the way back to the beginning when it was mental retardation. This is a con. This is a fraud, because psychologists need clients. And in order to get clients, they need to figure out ways to get the most they can from the public. And this mental health thing is really catching fire right now. It's the new fad, as you're seeing it with the news with regards to the war. News agencies are doing articles about the mental health of the victims of war. They're calling them mentally retarded. Psychology is an evil fraud. But nonetheless, Sean Reyes was able to try to pursue getting a ban on, or having people register their age on porn sites, for which Pornhub retaliated with a video saying, "We are denying service to all Utahns. We refuse to do this for the Utah government," which is the church that wanted this. And what it was is a blacklisting. The state of Utah wants to know who is seeing porn sites. It's not just about saying that you're over 18, like on YouTube, but even though on YouTube they still give you grief. As a creator, they attack women in violation of the laws of the land and claim community guidelines. No, it's religious based and it needs to stop. YouTube needs to back off. But regardless, this is a blacklisting. And governments who do this are doing it for an end goal of a final solution plan to compromise people, to get them to do what they want them to do. And because the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints runs the state of Utah, yeah, that's why those women sued Tim Ballard to protect the church. They were sexually compromised by their bishops, and they were used to attack him. Or they would have to face disciplinary councils with their memberships. And they will if they lose. but I'm willing to bet the church will turn a blind eye if they succeed and shut down Tim Ballard. The couple, by the way, in case you've been following, it was a couples massage. That's it. Not a happy ending massage, a couples massage. And so they had to take off their magic underwear, and that made them uncomfortable, and they thought that they were violating the laws of sex. And so they're compromised. So they too were used against Tim Ballard. And Sean Reyes goes on to lose that with the judgment in Texas that occurred right before it was supposed to go into effect. And so I haven't checked to see if Pornhub has released the video. Release the Kraken! But regardless, this is what's going on in the background. Sean Reyes also got busted as an unregistered foreign agent. The big soccer game earlier this year. The government gave Sean Reyes tickets to come out to attend the game. Oops. He cannot accept bribes, rewards, or any kind of anything, especially from a foreign government, because he cannot be biased as the lead prosecutor in the state of Utah. He has to remain unbiased, but he's already biased to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as he's forced to pay them tithing. He's Mormon. And so he also involved with the RICO Act through tithing, also is an unregistered foreign agent now. He is compromised, but he still, you can see what the church wanted him to do. And if he can succeed, he will not be fired and excommunicated and destroyed. And so that's why Sean Reyes is doing what he's doing with porn. So then he goes after social media. He can't do that effectively, and so now he's doing the latest thing on the TikTok addiction ban. It's all because he's compromised to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they are using it against him to get them to do what they want. And if you're unfamiliar with any of this, you've not been watching 24 with Jack Bauer. Enemies, terrorists, take people hostage, and extort them to do what they want them to do. So that the terrorist can be, I'm not involved, I'm exempt. You did it. You're busted. And so, yeah, there's a whole lot more. But now that it's been brought out into the light that Sean Reyes is compromised to Tim Ballard, we now see that Sean Reyes is going through a crisis here. He's panicking. And that's why he did the desperate measure to sue TikTok to ban it to protect the children. Which, no. So, yeah, the Book of Mormon got banned, or was about to be, because the Bible got banned for porn. All of this. This is all the background history, guys. These are all historical facts now. It happened. And now you can see what's going on in the state of Utah because of the corruption and criminality of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, compromising the government leaders who are Mormon and compromising business leaders and members of the church throughout Utah. And so that should help you understand why they come after me, using my brother, using businesses, using landlords, using the Attorney General, Mark Shurtleff, way back in 2008, and bishops and Mormons, everybody. The church gets you compromised. They give you an order. You have to fulfill it. If you fail, you're fired. and destroyed. If you succeed to some degree, I have witnessed them get rewarded and paid for their crimes against me. And because the government is compromised, I have no place to petition the government for a redress of grievances, because the corruption goes all the way up to the federal authorities. The FBI, Homeland Security, the federal judges, all are compromised in the state of Utah, and even in the federal government at D.C., because they're not listening to my whistleblowing reports. They're rejecting them. They're dismissing them when it's obvious the church is committing all these crimes. They are seeking to overthrow the government. They are seeking to destroy the Constitution of the United States of America. They are the kingmen we were warned about in the Book of Mormon. And I am Captain Moroni, and I'm all by myself. So, there you have it. And it's not quite long enough. If I go for another 20 minutes, I should be able to have breakfast and then shower and shave. And so, yeah, Dallin H. Oaks is behind all of this, by the way, in case you hadn't caught on. He's the judge, literally, and is about to be a sign in the heavens, figuratively. But whether that's Nelson dying and him officially taking over at that moment of death, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I just thought I'd share that with you.